Okay. Cheers, everyone. I am Amy Mitchell with Houses of Windsor, and this is Virtual Tea Time with Amy. And my special guest today is Michael Clark of Raymond James, correct?
Yep,
Is it
exactly.
Raymond? Okay. I thought that's where you were. So we're just, Michael and I actually is my first guest that I haven't really talked to beforehand. So you guys get to see us do a full kind of interview of each other and get to know each other. So yeah, so we can just get started. Now it's informal time. So Michael, you were about to ask me something before we recorded.
Well, I do have a tea question. So I'm drinking out of a Yeti. Is that like a major no-no?
That's allowed as long as you're not showing up at the tea room with it.
Okay.
I am drinking out of a pretty little teacup. I just have basic Earl Grey Twinings today though.
I actually have just some herbal tea. So, but yeah, I was not sure on the Yeti if that was, legit or if you're going to say something about the metal or something leaking into it.
No, actually, yeah, I think you're actually fine with all that. And I mean, if you're like working in an office, obviously you want your tea to stay warmer longer. I mean, here, I'll show behind the scenes. Here's what I was drinking my tea in, which is like a travel mug. So yeah, and then just for show, then I put a little bit in my teacup.
Well, there you go. Now, how long have you been doing this program?
Yeah, so this little program I've started doing, it's maybe been a few weeks. It's kind of like the whole quarantine thing. I've lost track of time.
Yeah.
So roughly as long as we've been quarantining.
Okay.
I kind of started it up. It's something I've wanted to do for a while or something of the sort, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then once everyone got stuck at home, it's like, oh, I just want to like have people on and chat and have like a virtual tea party. So that's how this was born, thanks to coronavirus.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah,
different, but good.
Thank you. But so we know each other loosely through BNI. What chapter is it that you're in?
So I'm in relationships and referrals. We meet in Winter Park. Mm-hmm. So it meets every Tuesday morning at 7:30.
Okay.
And for those that might not know what BNI is, it's basically a networking group. You meet every week, and then it's a great way to learn about other industries, get updates on what's going on in businesses that are not associated with you.
Right.
And so it's always very interesting to get a different perspective, hear about all sorts of different topics every single week. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my favorite parts. Obviously you grow your network that way as well and just, broaden your sphere. But it is a great education as well in terms of just rounding out your knowledge base.
That's a really good point. You're right. Because I always like learning for the different categories, like whose busy season is when and for what reason. I really enjoy, I don't know, for whatever reason, I like knowing like why people are busy and when, and it's very different in the different industries.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, some people are really busy in the summer, like air conditioning folks. Yep. And then other people, like if you do, tutoring or school or something like that, school's not in session. Sometimes you're slow. So exactly. Yeah, it is interesting to see the differences.
Right. And like the moving company, we have a mover in our group, and yeah, it's like summertime's always nuts because that's when everyone decides like they better hurry up with this move, before school starts, and everyone's waiting till the last minute to do it. But so where do you live? Where are you calling from?
So I'm in College Park, and then have a financial planning practice that's about a half a mile from here. And we've transitioned to home offices at this point. So all the financial advisors and then all the people that support us are working from home as well. Made that move about 3 weeks ago or so, but it's been pretty smooth. I think a lot of people were a little apprehensive about doing it, but after a couple of days, you kind of get in the groove of this type of communication style, and being on the phone a little bit more, producing videos, and so it's been good. It's been I would say a positive thing that I didn't really think that would work as well as it has been.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, it's like I've done, our BNI chapter. I think other ones do too, but our BNI chapter has like a virtual happy hour every Friday.
Oh,
And
okay.
you would think that that's like, what's the point? But it ends up feeling like you're really hanging out with like 20 or so many, whoever shows up. And it's, yeah, pretty fun.
Yeah, no,
It's,
for sure.
yeah, so it definitely helps with the social aspect of everything. Staying
Yeah,
at
it's
home.
been interesting to see how popular Zoom has
I
gotten.
know.
It's just like a mainstream thing that
Right.
happened almost overnight.
I know. Yeah.
Pretty,
I mean, I can only imagine what the like the owners of the company. I don't know much about Zoom, but whoever is like at the top, they must be just like loving. Like it's like who would have thought
yeah,
that
exactly.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden everyone would depend on.
Yeah, no, Zoom's a public company. I've actually had a few clients ask me about like investing in.
Oh, okay.
So that's been pretty funny.
That is
But
pretty good.
it definitely came out of nowhere in terms of popularity, and it seems like
Right.
every organization and every business is using it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of another group called Toastmasters. It's like,
Oh, I visited one with a friend one time. Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, yeah,
If
it's
you can
like public.
explain it so people know what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like I explain it like public speaking
Yeah.
club,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So we meet once a week, and there's prepared speeches, and then there's some off the cuff speaking as well. And then basically just give each other tips in a very nice, non
Right.
threatening way. And it's a great way to improve, not only your public speaking when you're in a group setting, but also, one to one, eye
Mm-hmm.
contact, just, knowledge base in terms of what words to use and what words
Mm-hmm.
to lose. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been really good. But that transitioned to Zoom as well. And so you'd
Oh,
think that
okay.
like
Yeah.
public speaking club that wouldn't work on Zoom, but sure enough, it does. We have speakers that give their presentation, and then we have what's called table topics, which is
Mm-hmm.
where you get kind of called on at random. Some
Okay.
people,
Yeah. I think as a guest, I was one of those.
yeah, some people hate that. Some people really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more on the. I don't really like that much. I'd rather kind of know,
You'd rather prepare.
rather prepare a little bit, instead of just being completely
Right. Right.
caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Toastmasters, that's going well. That was another kind of surprising thing.
Mm-hmm.
Both Toastmasters and BNI going really well on the digital platform,
Mm-hmm.
where you'd think, how are you going to network? How are you going to give
Right.
speeches without seeing each other? And really, it's gone well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I feel like our chapter's like vibe and energy that we is like so great in person. Just like transcends Zoom. Like we're still all like have that, kind of camaraderie or whatever you want to call it. It works virtually as
Yeah.
well. And I have to say, I've said this before, but I'm very impressed with how BNI, like, big BNI, like turned on a dime, like so fast to get all these chapters around the world, like set up on Zoom so well and everyone trained. Like, I mean, they were on it. I think
Yeah.
we only 1 week where we had an old fashioned conference call, and the next week we were on Zoom. It was
Right.
just amazing.
Yeah, no, it is incredible how quick the organizations can move, and everybody's been really, I would say, flexible and understanding during the period that everybody's working from home. Everybody's a little nervous about messing up the technology and
Right.
being on a different platform, and so it's been good just to see how flexible and people are not really resistant to change.
Right, right. And so I want to know about you. So where are you originally from? What's your story?
Yeah. So actually, I have lived in Orlando my entire life.
Oh, wow. A native.
Yeah. So I was born in Winter Park Hospital, believe it or not. And then I stayed in the Orlando area for school. So I went to the University of Central Florida and dated my wife all through college. We actually went to the same high school and then started dating as we entered UCF. And so I've been here my entire life. Parents still live in Altamont, and then my wife's family still lives in Apopka.
Oh, wow. wow.
So yeah, born and raised here. Love it. Weather's great. Tons to do here. I obviously a big fan of Orlando. How about you?
Are you, well, I have to ask a follow-up question. Are you a
Okay.
theme park person or a beach pool person?
So I really like both.
Okay.
I do like the theme parks quite a bit.
Okay.
Actually, one thing I was going to talk about, because you did send out like a little
Uh-huh.
question about like, what do you know
What's your
for
special
obsessed with?
interest? Yeah, yeah.
So I do have two daughters. They're
hmm
7 and 3, and we do go to the theme parks quite a bit.
hmm
So we go to Disney a lot. We've had SeaWorld passes as well.
hmm
But yeah, we're really big fans
Big.
of the theme parks. We tend to have, we actually don't have a pass right this second. They're closed anyway.
Right.
But but we normally have one pass per year. So we
hmm
have, a family pass, and then we go quite a bit where we'll go for, half day. I might work half day on Friday, and then the afternoon we head over into the
Oh,
theme
nice.
parks, or maybe just go on like a Saturday morning for just a few hours.
Right. Yeah, when
You
you've
know,
got the pass and you live in town, you don't have
yeah,
to like overdo it.
I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
The people that go on, Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
it's just packed and they try to go from, start to finish.
hmm
Yeah, that is kind of miserable. I could
Right.
see that. But if you go on some random Tuesday night
hmm
when nobody's there, it's a pretty enjoyable experience, especially if it's in the fall or the winter
Right.
when we're having, some awesome weather.
hmm
So no, as a family, we're big on Disney, SeaWorld, Universal.
hmm
Um, just
Okay, I was wondering about Universal because I felt like I didn't know if your kids' ages, if they liked Universal or not. Or do they
no,
have
not
little
yet.
stuff? Oh, okay. They have little
Not,
kid things or not so much?
they have some stuff, but not yet.
Okay.
Roller coasters are really cool at Universal. My wife and I like Universal, but
Okay.
as far as the kids go, no, not quite.
Yeah. Are you and your wife a Halloween Horror Nights? Are you keeping up?
No, we've been once or twice. Have
Okay.
you been? You like it?
I've been once. So I'm originally from Indiana, and I've been here about 6 years, and I
Huh?
love Florida. But I only say that because in Indiana and stuff, it's like you grow up and there's just, which there are some around here, but just like the small time haunted houses around Halloween or like haunted woods, corn mazes, whatever. Um, so when I went, I had some pretty high expectations for Halloween Horror Nights, and like production wise, like the all of the settings and everything, and even the makeup on the people, all of it is outstanding. My issue with it was that I couldn't be scared because they're just trailing people through nonstop. And so you see the haunters jumping out at the group in front of you. So then you
Right.
see them go back and hide. And like, I joke that there's too many safety precautions there because they have like exit signs lit up. And I'm like, now I can see everything. Like, I should be in pitch black.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I'm more of the small time. I understand that it's like a really neat thing production wise, but I like to go to haunted houses to actually like get scared and like have people jump out at me.
Right.
So it didn't
Yeah.
deliver on that.
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely some crowds at Halloween Horror Nights for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, there are. But I do have a couple friends that I think they just stopped a couple years ago. They have 2 kids now, but from college until like even until they had like while they had their first kid, they both were Halloween Horror Night haunters or actors, whatever you call them, and they only worked like I think for the rest of the year they maybe had to do like one random shift every once in a while to like stay as an employee, but they
Okay.
solely worked Halloween Horror Nights. And it's cool, like you would just kind of come in, like they'd have a group of people that were scheduled to come in, and then they say, oh, I need like a guy that's about 6 feet tall or whatever tonight, and like they just pick them out of the crowd, or like I need the blonde, blonde that looks like this, and they get called out, and then whoever doesn't get picked just like gets to go home or go hang out in the park for the night.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like
Sounds
it's
fun.
kind of fun, yeah, behind the scenes
Yeah.
haunter stuff.
Yeah, no, that'd be a cool job. And I think you
hmm
get like still universal perks doing
Yes,
that.
that's why they started doing it in college, was because they got annual passes basically, like
Okay.
for, yeah, and yeah, it wasn't for the pay. It was for the perks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we're big fans of the theme parks, Orlando. We do go to the beach quite a bit. I mean, just New Smyrna or Cocoa.
Yeah.
Such a short little trip that, and it's a, huge opportunity. But both of them, people
Yeah.
spend their whole lives dying to go to both those places, and they're so easy for us.
Right, right.
So no, we absolutely take advantage of both.
That's really good. Yeah, I have a daughter. She's 2.5. I haven't done Disney for real with her yet. She has been there, and it was probably closer to her second birthday, and she was terrified. Like Mickey, she loves Mickey on the TV, and she loves Mickey toys. But when Mickey, the person came over, it was terrified. It was like seeing Santa. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So she's not really ready to enjoy it quite yet. But I imagine it'll be a cool thing, because I didn't grow up with it. So it'll be cool that she gets to grow up with it.
Yeah.
And you grew up here. So did you grow up going to the parks often?
I did, yeah. So my aunt and uncle both worked there. So we got in for free that way, here and there. And then growing up, we had annual passes a couple times as well. So been to Disney quite a bit. I kind of wish I had like a count. I kind of wish I knew how many times I've actually.
Oh yeah, it's too far gone.
Because I've had passes. I had passes growing up, and then family members working there. So I don't know how many times I've been there, but I think it's a lot. So
that's so cool, though. So like hundreds, probably.
Yeah, I think it's about 100.
In the hundreds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Some people ask, why would you want to do that? But
well, I mean, I've talked to other friends that have grown up in the area, and for them, it's like not just the fun of Disney now. For them, it's also the nostalgia. Like for me, I don't get, like when I go, it's like, okay, yeah, this is like the Disney park. But for them, they get the nostalgia of like when they were kids going there. So it's like a whole other added level to it. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, besides tea, what other hobbies do you have?
Oh boy, what are my hobbies? So, well, I don't get to do this really anymore, but something I would like to get back into is figure skating. I started doing that kind of in college just for fun. I was college age. I wasn't like on a figure skating team. But once I had my daughter like 2.5 years ago, I tried to keep it up, and that and starting my own business gets in the way of skate times. So, but my favorite rink is actually out in Rockledge. It's the Space Coast Iceplex, and I did like group lessons there, and I can do like some basic spins and jumps and enough to entertain myself and make me feel special. But I didn't like competing. I don't want to or do a recital type thing. I don't want to show anybody. Yeah. So besides that, though, I am a beach and pool person. So that is my one, my one like real issue right now is staying at home, or like the hard part of being a Floridian that's staying at home. I have a community pool, and of course, every single community pool is closed. So it's like if I had one, my own personal one, the people who have their own personal ones, which I used to, they get to enjoy, they can go swimming whenever they want. But the rest of us just have to wait for them to open back up. And then the beaches are technically closed. Is that accurate? Do you know the latest? I feel like I keep hearing that they might open them.
So I think they're open right this second, but it's only for like running and surfing. I don't think you're allowed to just sit on the beach in a chair or lay out or play like an organized game of, soccer or something like that. I think it's just for walking, running, and like exercising.
Right.
So it's not on a social level.
Right.
And I think they still have a lot of the parking kind of blocked off or closed to try to limit it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Okay.
agree with you. Hopefully that, opens soon just to,
Right.
that's a fun thing.
I know, yeah, and it's like when the weather's nice, so I live in Altamont Springs, and I'm right close to Crane's Roost, where like there's a lake and a pretty walkway, and like there's like docks and boardwalks, and uh, my daughter loves it because there's one like kind of boardwalk in particular spot where there's a ton of turtles, like a crazy amount of turtles, giant ones, tiny ones, all of them, and we go and feed them. But they closed off Crane's Roost about a week and a half into the quarantining. So like we were
Okay.
going out almost every day, as were a lot of people, but we were
Yeah.
still all spaced. Like no one was near each other. And then
Right.
one day we go and they've got metal barricades across the whole
Mm.
thing, and I'm like, no. But there's a tiny bit of like lake close to where I live. It's not blocked off. So we do feed ducks, but we don't get to feed any turtles.
Gotcha. Yeah, Cranes Roost is really nice. My parents live in that area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love it. I just moved there in like February. And
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, I was in Oviedo, which Oviedo was good, but kind of for my, well, now it doesn't matter, but for my business needs and other things, Altamont Springs made more sense. My daughter's daycare was like a better location.
Well, good.
Yeah. But so you said you have two daughters, right?
Two
So
daughters. Yeah.
how's that going with like the whole schooling, right? And you're
Good. Yeah.
teaching
So
them
the
at home?
7-year-old does a couple hours a day. So she's on actually Zoom as well. And so she does a session 9 to 10 and then 11 to 12.
Okay.
And yeah, so she's basically in a Zoom classroom with her teacher and she can see the other kids. And then she has some other assignments throughout the day. And then my 3.5-year-old isn't in school.
Okay.
She's just here right now with my wife
Just hanging
and
out.
stuff. Yeah. So
That's
it's good. It's like I said, it's different working from home, but it's good. Everybody has lunch together and we see each
Yeah,
other a
that's
lot
true.
more. And
Yeah, that's nice. And the 7-year-old, does she care much that she's not going to school, or is it just kind of like whatever?
a little bit. She misses her friends.
Mhm.
They've done some FaceTiming with their closer friends,
Right.
and so trying to keep her engaged. And then she sees the kids on Zoom as
Okay.
well. But yeah, it's different, and I'm sure she's looking to get back to normal, but that might not
Right.
be for a little bit at this
Right.
point. But yeah, no, everybody's doing well.
Yeah, good. And yeah, my daughter's so young that she's not like questioning anything. And she's
Yeah,
going back and forth between my house and her dad's house, so she at least gets to move around a bit. She's
right.
between a couple places.
Yeah.
But yeah, so so how did you get into what you do? Like what did you study?
Yeah. So I was studying at UCF. I was studying finance and just took a couple of finance courses as part of the business program and really liked it and kind of gravitated towards it. And so during college, I was part of a fraternity called Alpha Tau Omega, ATO, and I was on the board. So I was one of the leaders of that. And we were doing our annual goal setting meeting. And one of the alumni let us use his office. And this office was this beautiful location in downtown. And we were using this conference room. And so on one of the breaks, I went out and said to him, hey, it was really nice of you to let us use your conference room. Really nice. Thanks a lot. And oh, by the way, do you ever do internships? And I figured he would just, blow me off or say, yeah, sure, send me your resume and, whatever. So I followed up with him, and sure enough, he gave me an internship. That was actually with a Raymond James office, and graduated in 2007, and then had a full-time job with Raymond James waiting for me.
Wow.
So that was in January of 2008, and then that was in downtown Orlando. And then me and 3 or 4 other people launched a College Park location in 2011. So we've been there ever since. I live about a half a mile from the office, and then there's about 3 or 4 others that live right in the area. So it's really convenient.
Yeah,
I'm really
great.
involved in the local community.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a financial planning practice.
That's pretty cool. So I take it you liked it when you interned.
Yeah.
You liked what you were doing.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a very complex and often intimidating topic
Mm-hmm.
for most people. And especially as they near retirement,
Mm-hmm.
people kind of feel like they should know more about it.
Mm-hmm.
They almost feel like they're like dumb not knowing about Social
Right.
Security or taxes
Right.
or how, IRAs work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun taking a complex subject and making it understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And the work is, extremely rewarding because you're helping somebody with something that a lot of times it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You only claim Social Security once in your life.
Mm.
You only inherit money once or maybe twice, depending on the situation. But it's kind of once in a lifetime, and you want to make sure you get it correct.
Mm-hmm.
You only retire once. You only stop
Right.
really permanently working
Yeah.
once and transition into a life with no paycheck, and you have to live off your investments.
Mm-hmm.
And the other aspect of it is divorce. If you have to
Right.
split up assets,
Mm-hmm.
that's not something you're going through every year. So these are like big,
Hopefully not.
hopefully not. Yeah. So these are big decisions that require a lot of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do make a mistake with your money during those periods, a lot of times the repercussions can be really detrimental to your long-term success. Because again, most of the time they're once or maybe twice in a lifetime decision points.
Right.
And so it's really rewarding kind of taking those times in life and really coming alongside people and helping them make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people think, oh, you're a financial advisor, so you're going to tell me, should I buy Apple stock now or should I buy Microsoft? And yeah, there's a little bit, I guess, of that in the job, but there's way more to it, and it's a lot more, I would say, bigger decisions than that.
Right.
So that's a really rewarding part of the job in terms of you're doing a service for somebody and you get to see it pay off, and you're shining some light on something that they wouldn't, I don't want to say they wouldn't understand otherwise, but it would take them a long time to understand it and get the decision correct.
Okay. Yeah. And do you have, like, are there certain, I don't know, types of clients that seem to like be drawn to you, or certain types of clients that you like working with the most?
Yeah. So most of my clients are in the Orlando area, and most of them are nearing retirement. So I would say that 55 to 70-year-old is my typical client. And they usually have, like, I would say, multiple questions or multiple concerns.
Okay.
So it might be, hey, I have to take Social Security. Do I take it? The earliest you can take it is age 62. The latest you can delay it is age 70. So there's an 8-year window in which you can access Social Security. And pretty much everybody that's worked at least 10 years in the United States has to make that decision. When do you start Social Security? You also have to usually transition from group health to Medicare. And that usually occurs around age 65. So these are permanent retirement decisions that people usually need some guidance on. And so that tends to be that kind of sweet spot of where I work, just because there's usually so many concerns and so many things they have to decide on at that point. In addition to, all right, well, I'm going to stop getting a paycheck from my job, or I'm going to sell my business. How do I get a paycheck for the rest of my life?
Right.
I need to turn my 401k, my IRA, an inheritance, sale of a business into some sort of monthly income for the rest of my life off my investments.
So you're talking about like the 8-year gap, kind of like when you decide, like, what is the, I guess, like, what are kind of like the deciding factors? Like, what's the benefit of going either at 62 or waiting till 70 or somewhere in between?
Great question. So at 62, you're only going to get about 75% of your promised benefit.
Okay.
So let's just say for ease, it's usually
Mm-hmm.
higher than this, but for ease, if you're promised $1,000 from Social Security,
Right.
they're going to say, well, if you're 62, we're only going to give you $750
Okay.
per month for the rest of your life. Or if you wait all the way to age 70, we won't give you 100%. We'll actually give you 132%. So we'll
Oh.
send you a check per month for 1,300, call it.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty big range there, but the
Yeah.
person that takes it at 62, they get a lot more checks because they get checks from age 62
Oh.
all the way to age 70.
Right.
Now, sure, they're smaller,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually that person that delays all the way to age 70, yes, they've missed out on 8 years of checks, but that larger amount does eventually catch up and surpass the amount of those 8 years of missed checks. That occurs for most people somewhere between 78 and age 80.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you live, the more sense it makes to delay. So to answer your question, health status comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
I would say need for income. Some people desperately need the money at age 62, whether you want to retire or, unfortunately, lately I've been seeing a lot of people that are, forced to retire. And so sometimes it's a, mathematical equation or, a financial type decision. But other times, if it's due to health or need, sure, letting it grow makes more sense. You're going to get more money, but sometimes it does make sense just to start the checks. The other aspect of it is part-time work. So if you plan to work part-time, then usually delaying Social Security makes a little bit more sense. So there's just a few different factors that come in there from, health, need for income, whether you're going to have part-time employment. For people that sell a business, how they're receiving that income. So is it, capital gain sale? Are you 1099? Is it a W-2 payment? A lot of terms in there, but how are you receiving your income when you sell your business? So again, that all comes into play on Social Security. And a lot of it, again, boils down to the person's, obviously health status, but desire to work. Do you like your job? Do you like what you're doing?
Right.
Is there something that you've always wanted to do differently? So, we can obviously do the math and look at all the finances and all that. But if the person has been in the job for 30 years that they hate and they'd like to figure out how to get out of it, well, let's figure out how to get out of it.
Right. That's really good. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the 8-year gap or any of that stuff. Even though my parents have been through it, I don't know anything.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of complexities with, a lot of these items. And again, they can, for the most part, they're permanent choices that you make once. So, yeah.
That's interesting though. Good to know for the future. I think we might be, a little choppy. Do you notice a delay? Do I sound choppy to you?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, because you sound a little choppy to me, but there's nothing really to be done.
Yeah, all good.
Zoom.
Right, exactly.
I feel like it always happens where, like everything's running smoothly, but there's always has to be a garbly moment in the record, in the Zoom call. Everyone. But so I guess I don't know. Do you have any random questions for me?
I guess we'll close with one. So you have a kid. I have a couple kids. I read your guide on etiquette, which is actually
awesome.
really good.
Thank you.
So if listeners out there haven't downloaded the guide off the website, download it. It's actually very helpful and very interesting.
Thank you.
Do you have an age at which you start trying to teach etiquette to kids, or is that just an ongoing thing always?
So I think, personally, I feel like you can teach etiquette you can start it young, kind of in a fun way. And it's not like old days where, you've got a book on your head and you're walking and not having any fun. But so with my daughter, she's only 2.5. I already let her play with real teacups. She actually drinks tea. I didn't intend for her to drink tea at this age, but she wanted to drink what mommy was drinking. And so I let her taste it, thinking that she'd think it was gross. And she slurped the whole thing down and wanted more. So I was like, oh, whoops. So now she likes tea. But so it's she'll hold her cup wrong, but that's okay for now. We'll start with little things about learning how to hold stuff that's breakable without breaking it, So I feel like as they get older, I mean, you've got a 7-year-old, she's old enough probably to understand as you're telling her, like, how to sit properly or stuff like that. And I feel like part of the important thing of etiquette to remember is that it's basically just, it's about respect for those around you. So I feel like some people think etiquette sounds like you're trying to be stuck up or, too snobby. But really what it is about having respect for those around you and not like doing annoying things or rude things or, eating with your mouth full, like, even the stirring of the tea, it's like you're supposed to stir it back and forth without touching the sides because it's annoying if you're clinking your tea. So there's like reasons behind all of them. Of course, I have fun with it. So, if somebody really wants to throw their pinky up, more power to you. But like, don't do it if you're having tea with the queen. You should just hold your cup normal. But yeah, so I guess I'd just say kind of sprinkle it in as they are growing up and let them know, like, there's a time and place for everything. I don't want my daughter to grow up feeling like she has to be, like prim and proper and can't breathe, 24/7. But I would like her to know how to turn it on when she needs to, or when it's appropriate.
Right.
Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay.
It's great.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you downloaded the guide. Thank you. I actually recently kind of updated it, and I thought it looked really pretty.
Yeah.
So I'm glad someone else noticed. But
Well, cool.
yeah, cool. Well,
Thanks for having me on.
yeah, thank you so much for being on. I will, yeah, we'll say a little goodbye, and I'll stop the recording, and then we'll talk off recording.
Perfect.
But thank you for being on. Bye, everyone.
Bye.